Hey, chicas. Welcome to the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast, the show where women share their personal power tools, the techniques, strategies, and ways of being which have enabled their business and life success. I'm your host, Lovelda Vincenzi, a female speaker mentor, speaker, and event host on a mission to unleash authentic, powerful female voices onto the world. In today's episode, we'll be uncovering the power tools of Toya Patel. Toya is the co-founder and CEO of an event and wedding planning company called SW Events. She has more than 7 years experience in the events industry with a specialism in Asian events. Over the last years, she's worked to cultivate strong relationships with some of the industry's finest suppliers. Putting her clients at the heart of planning is something that continues to allow SW Events to deliver events that truly reflect a client's personality. More than an event and wedding planner, Toya is an entrepreneur. This is something she's incredibly passionate about and is the root of everything she does. For her, business and life are about creating experiences, and ultimately she strives to give back to the industry that has embraced her. Of late, you'll also find her providing business process consultancy for her industry colleagues and also planning weddings and ticketed events. In this episode, we'll discuss what it is like leaving a successful job to start a business in an industry which is not only highly competitive, but for which you may have limited knowledge. Now, full disclosure, Toya Patel, she's my sister, so it's kind of like a little sibling, let's get in there, chat. And this is also our final episode in this season. Now, I know your heart may break just as mine is breaking having to say this at the beginning of this episode. But look, if you would like to build a speaking income through online speaking gigs, then do check out the links in the show notes for speaker resources and the current programs that I'm running. Remember, in the meantime, all links shared in this show can be found in the show notes. The only way to ensure that you get your regular fix of this show is to hit that subscribe button right now to make sure that you get updates as soon as a new show is added. Now, I think that's more than enough from me for now, so let's get on with the last episode! Hey, chicas, welcome to another episode of the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast. It's a sad day and it's an exciting day because this is episode 40, meaning we're at the end of season 1, but season 2 is to come, so do not worry. Do not worry. Watch the end of this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when season 2 is come in. Look at the note in the link in the show notes because it will tell you exactly how to subscribe so that you will be notified when season 2 is in. But listen, remember way back when I had Talia Gray on the show and I said, listen, this girl is like my sister from another mother, right? Because we had so many similarities. I've gone and done y'all one better. This time I got my sister from my mother. Yep, that's right. My guest on today's show is an international wedding planner. She's also gone on to build a business in which she supports other creatives in building business processes. I am so excited to speak to her, partially because I want to know what the heck has happened in lockdown and how does one who's in an industry that was completely, let's face it, had the floor taken out of it, smashed up to smithereens. What do you do in those situations? It's like the epitome of like the pivot. So please welcome to my show, my guest today, the incredible Toya Patel.
Hello.
Girl, don't look so shocked. I can say nice things about you, okay?
I'm not going to lie. I was like, damn, who is she talking about?
Sisterly love is real, man. It is real. So I'm gonna have to do my best not to use no nicknames and that kind of thing, when you're just too close. I'm gonna keep it professional, folks. So Toya is my sister, which means she's actually one of my younger sisters. I got 2. So y'all can get behind the scenes. We're gonna try and keep it, keep the family drama outside of today's episode and keep it strictly business. There's gonna be a ton of people listening to this show, some of whom will know you because they will, but there'll be loads of people listening who have never heard of you before and don't know anything about you. So firstly, how on earth did you get into planning weddings? What would make you do that?
See, this is a question that we get asked, so I do it with my husband, number one, but this is a question that we get asked a lot. And to be honest, I was not the person that got into this for the passion and the love of weddings. I have developed that, but that is not how this started. Essentially, we wanted to have a business because I'm not really built to work for other people for my whole life. Like, I really respect that bosses have actually dealt with me, but I just can't. I'm not that person. I honestly have to do things my way. So I knew that I needed my own business. We ended up getting a business coach, mostly because I rocked up at something. I'm like, okay, I'm interested. Got a business coach. We had no business. And eventually the coach was like, see, the thing is, you're going to need to come up with a business that I can coach you on.
Who gets a business coach with no business?
Listen, I was determined I was getting myself a business. So Ajay was like, okay, fine, let's do this together. So we then we were put on the spot. We were like, you need to come up with a business. So then we were like, right, what is it that we want to do? Looking at both of our backgrounds, that didn't help us. So I was working for an IT company at the time. Ajay was in hospitality at the time. That wasn't helpful. So then we thought, okay, I don't know how it came about, but we had gotten married the year before. And our wedding planning process was really simple. We got married overseas, and where we got married came with a wedding planner. And during that process, people kept asking us, oh, how's it going? You guys stressed out? We're like, no, like, it's totally fine. Because actually we didn't have to do anything because everything was just done for us. They just gave us options, like, which of these things would you want to do? We're like, cool, this, and this, done. So we rock up and it was all just done for us. There was a coordinator, all beautifully, no stress. So then
basically the total opposite of mine.
Something like that. We're not going to discuss that today though, because you said no drama. So anyway.
Look, it was beautiful. It was just the opposite. She outsourced hers. I decided to insource it. I'm telling you.
And then try and outsource it to me afterward. But anyway.
Hey, when your sibling plans weddings, I'm just going to say.
So we were thinking about our process. And then I think the year before us, one of Ajay's family got married, and we ended up actually helping out on the wedding day for that. But we just remember the night before being approached by the person that was getting married, and they were like, I've just realized me and my fiance are the only two people who know what's supposed to happen tomorrow. So here's a list. And we were like, righto. So we ended up doing a whole bunch of stuff to help them out on the day. But then comparing the two experiences, we were like, there's definitely got to be a better way to do this. So that's how wedding planning came about. That's the only thing that we can remember that kind of led us down the wedding planning road. We had never planned a wedding for anybody else in our lives. And we had we were used to hosting, we used to host like barbecues and stuff. We had this annual barbecue. We had a whole process that went with it. We are the people that laminate our own family menus.
Yeah, I can attest.
Get berated for it.
I'm even tempted to find a photograph and insert here.
So we are those people, and so I guess it kind of just naturally came from that, where we were like, there's got to be some business in wedding planning. It wasn't a big thing in the UK at the time that we started doing it, but we decided we're going to do it.
So did you do like the whole market research and all of that kind of stuff to know where the numbers at? Was it very like kind of head decision?
It was very much more head driven. So it was based on the fact that there was a business model to it. We built a value proposition around it. And that was all about trying to find people who already had our client and being able to pitch into those people so that we could get a referral model going, and then we decided we should probably learn how to do wedding planning. So we booked onto an online wedding diploma. I think I've completed all of 2 modules. And then I just sacked it in. Aj did 1, got very vexed because he got a lower grade than me. That was the end of that. But what we did then do is find an actual genuine bona fide wedding planner. He was one of the top wedding planners in the UK. And we went on his course individually. So I went in the November, Aj went, I think, in like the Jan-Feb. So we individually did it, which meant that we weren't like crutching on each other to try and like learn some stuff. And it was a 5-day course at the Dorchester Hotel. And we went through a whole bunch of stuff. And at the end of it, the guy that runs the course, his name is Mark Nayyar. he then gave, I don't think he does this course anymore actually, but he then gave to all of the people that attended, and it was maximum 10 people at a time, basically all of the templates that he uses for stuff. And he's like, I don't care what you like, just stick your own logo on that, just crack on, like that's all you need to do. So that was that. And so we thought, the other thing we thought is maybe the first event we do shouldn't be somebody's actual wedding, because that's a little bit scary. So we'd been to
maybe let's ease ourselves into this a little bit.
I figured, you know, we shouldn't let loose on someone like that on their big day. So we decided we approached this venue that we'd met at some wedding show somewhere, and they had like a Christmas do coming up, like this dinner dance thing. So we were like, oh, why don't we just help you finish off the planning and stuff? He's like, oh no, I've done most of it. It's not even a place I'm even going to mention the name of, because honestly, we've never worked there again. So we did this event. He had like, I swear if his budget was 200 quid, it was a lot. Like he had no budget for this thing. And so we not only helped finish the planning with it and wrote a schedule for it, we then actually did practically all the setup alongside a couple of people in his venue team. Finished all the setup at about 6 o'clock in the morning, went home. I had to park my car on the side of the road, leave it there, and then get into Adja's car because I was falling asleep. Went home, picked up, I think even Lysandra, my younger sister, I think she was staying with us at the time, and we made her come to this event and help us.
Like, anybody, somebody got a pulse, come help.
So it was crazy, but it was really great to do it because you kind of got a bit of a sense of things we would never do again, as well as like just what an event is like on the day. And then not long after that, actually, we got our first booking, which was just straight through the internet, through our website. Someone we'd never worked with before. Ended up being a fantastic first client, fantastic venue, decent budget. So it was like we landed completely on our feet with it, which just blows my mind to this day.
I love that story. I also like that, you know, sometimes people think it's like so straightforward, like, oh, you know, you had this vision and it's follow your passion. Honestly, the number of people I speak to who started businesses and they're just like, yeah, I'm not quite exactly sure how I ended up where I ended up. Like, I can remember some events I did. I remember thinking, why the heck am I even emceeing this thing? They have nothing. There's nobody here. I'm pulling my hair out doing all of the craziest things that make no sense. Like it's putting no money in my pocket. It's just causing me stress and aggravation. But I think the key thing is you don't know how that experience is going to play out further. Like having been in that situation and having to take on all of those extra bits of responsibility, when you're in that level of pressure, what comes next? You kind of go, got it. Piece of cake.
Like you have to get on with it, because I think, especially with weddings, it's a finite date in the diary. They don't intend to ever have to repeat the day. So you've kind of got one shot at it. And not only do you have the couple that you're working with, by the time you get to the day, you're kind of being scrutinized by all of their guests, their family members, their parents, their cousins, their aunties, their uncles, like everyone. And I think our first ever wedding was like a good couple of hundred guests as well. And it was like there was so much that went on in that day. These people did a civil ceremony, an afternoon tea, a Hindu ceremony, and a reception all in the same day. I nearly died, but it was the best thing we could have done. And
Let's just put it this way. So LaToya specializes, well, when you started, you guys specialized in Asian weddings. I think it was Hindu weddings.
It was specifically Hindu weddings, yeah.
Which, if you know anything about weddings, there are certain cultures, when they do weddings, they do weddings. It's not a day. It's like a week. There's like 16 different freaking celebrations going on. So you didn't pick a sector in which it was nice and simple and straightforward. It's one event, people come to it, and there's like a couple of parts. No, the standard is there's multiple things going and everybody's trying to one up each other.
So it obviously it depends on the family, how many weddings you've had in the family. But ultimately, for an Asian wedding, it tends to be multi-event. In some cases, multi-day. We're not always involved in every single event in every single day, because some of them are smaller things that we do at home. Mm-hmm. But typically, they're all multi-event. And then on top of which, it's the guest numbers. So there's still this like assumption with a lot of people that it's like 1,000 people. our weddings on average are about somewhere between 250 to 300 guests at any one wedding. So for us, that's like usual, that's manageable, that's really like, that's workable. It's a nice number. We've equally done things as small as like 35 people. So, but they are unto themselves, because each of the Indian wedding ceremonies is different. So depending on whether it's a Hindu ceremony, a Muslim ceremony, a Sikh ceremony, whatever it might be, they're all different. But when it comes to the Hindu ceremonies, even though they'll all have the same, like a similar structure to them, but depending on whether it's Gujarati, Bengali, Punjabi, Tamil, it will be different. And then each family will have an element that they just do differently, right? So we've never done two Hindu ceremonies that are the exact same. Like, it's never going to happen. And we've had to come to terms with that super early. But we've worked with some amazing Hindu wedding priests, and they just take care of everything for you. So it's been a learning experience, because that was the other thing, is we got into this industry and I had maybe been to one, maximum two Asian wedding ceremonies or Hindu wedding ceremonies with Aj. I don't even know if it was even the Indian wedding ceremony piece that I'd even been to. Actually, no, it wasn't. And then he had been to family ones. We did not have an Asian wedding ceremony with our wedding, because Aj was not interested in it at all at the time. So like, our experience was so limited. So we were like messaging his family to ask questions. We were reading up on it. We were meeting like wedding priests to talk through stuff. We had to learn so much about what it is that we were doing. And the first ever wedding we did was actually a Bengali Hindu wedding, and it wasn't even something we'd ever seen before. So we then had to figure that out. And it's been a whirlwind the whole time, but we've met some incredible people who've taught us loads of stuff. We now know some stuff, but we did not start there. Like, I don't even know what we were thinking at the time, but it was probably one of the hardest things to go, no, we'll start here. So,
well, you know what the thing is, there's something you've said there that I think is worth really picking up on, which is continuously learning. Because I think in some sectors, people get too bleeding comfortable. And and being in the area that you're in, because there's so many moving parts, and because no two things are the same, you're continuously learning and can kind of continuously moving things ahead. But I think that's quite important, not just in the wedding space. I think regardless of what business you're in, if you haven't researched, dived deeper into, picked up some stats, like really gone deeper into what it is that you're doing in the last 12 months, girl, you need to sort it out. It's not okay.
I would like 100%. And I would say, actually, if I think about when I was working full time, so I probably spent about 11, maybe 11 years in the IT sector. And not once did I ever go on a specialist course to learn more about the job that I did. Like, I would speak to people around me, but I was never that person that's like, I'm going to go read up on this, I'm going to go to this conference. Like, I didn't have it in me. But in the minute we started doing what we do now, I will be on the internet looking at different things. I'll be speaking to different people. I will see different courses come up, and we've been on courses. We've been away we've been to Vegas on like a wedding conference. Like, we will actually actively try and find out more stuff about our sector and what we do. When I was working, at no point, and there came a point in my career where my manager was like, Latoya, you probably should, start getting yourself onto courses and stuff and going to conferences. And I looked at her and I nodded and I thought, oh, hell no.
Ain't gonna happen.
Be doing that.
You're like this.
I don't care enough. So I loved my job. Don't get me wrong. Like, I really enjoyed my job, but I just didn't have that in me to kind of be like, I'm going to go research some stuff. No. It wasn't happening.
So what was it that got you to the point of research? Because at the top of this interview, you said, we didn't start this because we had no passion. Like, I love weddings now, but at the time, that's not the reason you dived into it. So what was the switch?
So it started with understanding business. Like, that was a real interest to us. That's why we ended up getting a business coach. And I think that stood us in good stead, because there were things that we did at the beginning that we set our business up in a way that people would look at it and go, so your business must be a number of years old. I'm like, no. So we had an accountant before we had any money. Like, we had templates for emails we'd never sent before. We had templates for contracts we'd never had signed. Like, we had done a whole bunch of stuff to set up our business because I was really interested in having a solid foundation to it. So that's where it all started. And then when we started getting into that, we realized that we kind of had to know. So for example, writing the contract, we had to know a bit about what risks we were trying to mitigate. So therefore we had to learn a bit about what risks happen within a wedding. What do we need to have clauses around if someone wanted to change their date, if someone wanted to, what the services that we were actually providing. We had to work out what the hell is a wedding planning service. So then we had to do some research into that. And so I guess that it was more kind of, technical in a way, where the research started, because we needed to know certain things to be able to execute what we were doing. But then as time went on and we got to meet the couples and meet the families, and they would ask us questions, we were like, I'm gonna have to come back to you on that shit. Like, you're gonna need to leave that with me for just one little minute here.
Can we just put a pin in that one?
I'm gonna come back. So then it was like, okay, crap, we need to go and learn some more stuff. And we started to learn where the holes were, because there's wedding planning generally, and understanding how to structure managing. It's essentially project management, but for the weddings, right? So you had to kind of learn how to structure which bits you did at what point. But from then it was like, you needed to understand the context within which you were operating. You needed to understand the family dynamics. You needed to understand like what things people might be going through. And we were married. Yes, that was helpful to have been through that experience, but we weren't in the same situation that most of our clients are in. So it then kind of got to that level where we were like, okay, because it's these people, and we came to like love pretty much most of the clients we've worked with, we've had a really great relationship with. And it kind of makes you want to work for them, if you know what I mean. Like, you want to make sure you're getting your shit right. So
you're like, I don't take your money. I need to do a good job. And you're asking me some things that I should probably 100%. Know. So I'm going to have to figure it out.
100%. I mean, the craziest thing we had to do, I say had to, we had our first, as I said, all of the Hindu weddings are different. So we had our first ever Tamil wedding ceremony. Again, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. I think this was actually the second ever wedding we did. And we were like, okay, we need to go do some research. The first thing we came to find out was that the Tamil Hindu priests, they go topless, right? And we were like, oh, okay, that's different. That's different. Right. Okay. So then we found an organization, which is like maybe about half an hour down the road from us. We contacted them. We're like, can we come in and just like have a conversation with you? It was just like a community organization, right?
Can you just talk about through
a Tamil wedding? So they're like, yeah, 100% come in. We roll up, me and Aj, right? We roll up, go into this place. They've got like kids on computers. They've got women sort of who were there with their children, and they were kind of preparing some stuff. And so we went around and we sat with the ladies that were there, and there were a couple of guys around doing some other bits and bobs. And so the women started taking us through weddings and stuff. So there's one particular woman who was our point of contact. Turns out her brother was getting married like 2 weeks from this point. She then sends us an invitation to attend her brother's wedding.
And you're there with your notebooks.
First-hand experience. Honestly, we had like the phone under the table, like taking notes. Like, it was just crazy. It was beyond crazy. And then this was the thing that got me though, right? They were filming, obviously, this wedding ceremony, and there was this woman's brother had one of these crane setups. Like, the videographer brought this crane.
Oh, like the ones that kind of take the camera.
Big old thing. Yeah. And it's like sweeping across the room and all this jazz, right? So me and Ad are trying to duck and dive to get out of this video. We were like, we can't pay these people's videos. This is ridiculous. And at one point the camera was like right here. We're like, oh, damn. Like,
we're just going to have to be involved. But you know what? I love that, because there's something in there about, dare I say, leaning into the ignorance, like not being serious. So uptight to not just go, I don't know. So I'm just going to be honest and say, I don't know. Where's the answer at? I'm going to have to walk in and be okay with owning my ignorance, owning my naivety, and just ask the dumb questions. Because I think sometimes, especially as women, we just don't want to. We don't want to come across like we don't have the answer.
For real.
No, I got this.
you got to put yourself out there. So one of the things that I guess we were doing really early on is we were putting ourselves in situations that, I'm not going to lie, we're a little bit uncomfortable, but that was how we were going to get this information. And what we found is that if we asked the question, people were willing to help us, and they were willing to sit with us. There were some like people who were a little bit noses out of joint, but where we directly asked the question, and we did it in a way where we were like, we just want to get an understanding, or we'd love to hear more about what it is that you do or what you know, whatever. People wanted to teach, right?
If you
People
show a genuine
wanted to
interest,
teach.
it's like if you show a genuine interest, people generally do want to help. So before we move on to the next bit, I've just got one other question for you, which I feel like we can't skim over because you're not Asian.
No, this is not Asian. No.
You're not Asian.
Yeah.
But you then went on to do Asian weddings. How did you navigate that space such that such that you could be a person, because often, there's rooms that you walk into, whether it's ethnicity based or female versus male, but it's just, this isn't your world. You didn't grow up in it. You're not around it, but you're now walking in, telling people to whom, helping to educate people to whom this was their life. This is all they've known from birth, to support them in doing something that's quite traditional. How the heck did you navigate that space?
Look here. Look, I'm gonna be straight up with you. So I had a problem with it to begin with. Like, I personally had a problem with it because I was like, who is going to trust this? Who is going to look at me and go, no, you would know something about Asian weddings? Like, nobody. So I had a huge hang up about it from the off. And this business coach that I mentioned we took on, he sussed that I had massive hang-ups over this situation. And at one point, he just looked at me and he went, you need to get over that. I was like, what do you mean? I said, but people, he's like, that's your problem. That's not their problem. That's your problem. And that's something you're going to need to deal with. Like, at no point have you been proven right with anything you've told me so far. So you need to get over it, because you just need to find a way through. And I was like, okay. I mean, you didn't need to say it quite so harsh, but okay, fine. Listen,
get over it.
My ego's hurting. So I was like, okay, great. So now I need to figure it out. So then that kind of got me into a stage where, because it was really holding us back. I'm not going to lie. It was holding us back from booking things because I didn't want to put myself out there. I didn't really want to put my face on the website and on the brand and everything else, because I'm like, no one's going to trust this. At most, all I've got going for me is my damn surname. Like, at that point, people go, I'm intrigued. Like, how did you become a Patel? I'm like, seriously, you're Marion. It's not hard.
Hi, it's Miss Patel here.
So it was really difficult, but it was actually more what I came to realize, it was me rather than them. People didn't really have a problem with it because ultimately they were booking somebody for a service. If they trusted that I knew something about what I was talking about, or that I could deliver a service to them, they genuinely didn't give a toss what I looked like. And actually, over the years, what we've come to find is that it's been a strength of ours, the fact that I don't look Asian, and Aj does, because then we've ended up getting a lot of couples that are from two different backgrounds. So that has actually been a strength in some ways, because people then go, so like, you two are married and you're not Asian. So actually, you know what? Maybe you might understand like what I'm going through, because I'm now marrying into an Asian culture that, it's new for me and my family kind of thing. So it was all down. In the end, I learned that actually it was my own hang-ups that were holding me back from thinking that I could deliver a service. But ultimately, this stuff is completely learnable. And I've been really accepted into, like, with the families, with the couples that we've worked with. Obviously, there's always going to be a few people that have an issue. I'm sure of that. Normally it's some distant cousin, which just, I'm like, seriously, just back down.
The truth is, you're never going to be for everybody anyway.
No.
And it's interesting that you can, it's like, is the glass half full or half empty, right? You can either see it as a strength or you can see it as a weakness. And so I find it really interesting that the thing that held you back for so long, where you thought, heck, I can't put myself out there, I can't market myself, well, you've got a hang up. Actually, as soon as you get over it, it turns out that that's exactly the thing that allows you to have a niche that others couldn't access quite so easily.
Yeah.
So y'all listening, you need to hear that. If there's something that I'm not even kidding, chick, this is for real. If there's something that's been holding you back and it's up in your head, you need to get over it, because you can either see it as a problem or you could see it as an asset. And if you see it as a problem, it's going to be a problem. And if you see it as an asset, do you know what? Regardless of who you are, somebody's not going to like you, right? But if you can't get to a space where you're comfortable with what you're doing, you're going to have even more of a problem. So that gold, #gold dust. That's all I'm going to say. Right. We need to move on, because otherwise we'll be stuck on this part for ages. So being a wedding planner, oh girl, I forgot to ask you some questions. I'm going to come back to them. Being a wedding planner, I was going to dive into and find out how and why and how y'all handle lockdown, but we'll figure that out in a moment. I'll bring it back in. Planning Asian weddings, but not being Asian, you're going to have a unique perspective of the world and what it means to be female and what it means to be powerful. So I'm curious, what do you define as a woman's power as her essence?
So this is a really good question, and I'll be honest, I'm gonna refer to my notes here because I did put some thought into this, right? So I think, to be honest, okay, so where I used to work was in IT, in the IT sector, massively male dominated. Then I came into weddings, which is very, like, business-wise, it's very female-driven, right? But I also then stepped into a world where certain things are still very male-driven. So in terms of conducting a ceremony, most priests are still men, and that's where the ceremony gets driven from, right? So I would say one of the biggest things that makes women powerful is the ability to kind of continue to get up every day and walk into, let's be honest, a male-dominated environment, insofar as a lot of what you interact with is probably set up by men in some way, or has a huge influence from men in some way. I mean, let's take a look at the government by way of an example. Like, at the moment, it's being led by a dude, and some of his dude friends and what have you. But the point is to be able to get up every day and walk into something that is a very male-dominated world still, in terms of where the power lies in business, and actually still have a feminine essence to you, and like really, really embrace that. Like, you don't need to be that butch woman with the suit who has brash language all of the time to get places. You can walk in wearing the highest of heels that you want to get on, the jewelry, the nails, the eyelashes. You can do whatever you want to do, and you can still have an opinion. And being able to do that every day in a place where you may be one of the few people, or you know that actually there's a lot of influence around you that is from a male-dominated energy, that for me is something like that takes some doing to kind of don that every day, but not feeling like you've got to kind of turn into a dude, you know, and have some of the traits that people would associate with being male. If you love wearing a suit,
wear a suit. But, you know, if you prefer to turn up, and it's not necessarily to do with what you're wearing, it's to do with your energy. If you're naturally a softer, caring, more embracing person, don't lose that. Do what's authentically you. Beautiful.
Whatever you're like at home, don't feel like you have to be a different person when you go to work or a different person when you do business. Like, that is some confusing stuff right there. Just be you. And I think that for me is one of probably the biggest things that I'm still learning, is that it's okay to be who you are, regardless of, you know, the fact
where
that
you are.
Exactly. And you don't need to change that and get a bit more hard-edged and all of this jazz. Like, no one's interested. Just do what you need to do.
Do you. Be you. Wherever you are. Love it. Love it. And you know what? It doesn't matter how many times people say this on the show in various different ways. I still need to hear it occasionally, where it's like, listen, what the hell did you show up looking like that and acting like that for? And it's like, oh yeah, I was listening to that audiobook by such and such, and now I'm starting to feel like I've got to show up in a particular. That's not me.
No.
That's not me. This is me. This is me.
I'm serious.
This is me, you know? And so it's, regardless of what I do, I'm not going to be for everybody. But I love that, because I go, look, if I'm going to fail at something, let me fail at it as me. Because if I fail at it trying to be somebody else, then I don't know if I could have really done it. right?
Yeah.
But if I fail it as me, then it's like, well, it's just not my thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and I like winning. So my view is, ain't nobody else can win at being Lovelda. So
Well,
winning.
as someone used to say to me, I mean, you can only be you because everyone else is taken. So
it's a really good reminder. So let's get right into the juiciness of this. It's the mean question I ask every single guest, but I do give you a heads up. So you do have a little bit of preparation time, only a tiny bit. If we were to take everything that you have done in your life and business and literally boil it down to 3 core things, and I call these your power tools, they're strategies, techniques, ways of being that are fundamental to who you are and the successes that you've had in life. What would those 3 things be?
So, once again, because I really want to make sure I'm getting my stuff together here. I have put some notes together, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm not even playing. Like, I want to make sure I say this right. So my 3 things would be, and I'll explain briefly what I mean by each of them. The first one would be perseverance. Finding a way. I want to say it's Brene Brown, but I'm not sure. Someone has this phrase, which is find a way and persevere. Like, it's not about how many times things don't work out for you. How do you respond to that? That's what makes something happen. So perseverance, I would say, is number 1. The next one is compassion. So this is something that I would say I've had to learn. I'm going to lie. I was not the most compassionate of people. I have had to learn this. I don't think there's any need for these head movements. But I would say compassion is really important, because that is the thing I think that helps to connect you to other people. And regardless of whether you have been wronged by that person, I still feel like you need to have a level of compassion. And I think that leads to a level of professionalism that some people just lose their minds over, right? So perseverance,
compassion. So especially if you've been, hold up, back up, pause.
Yeah.
Let's rewind this little moment. So somebody comes in and they do some shizzle they shouldn't be doing. They get right under your skin and aggravate the bejesus out of you. Like, really get you, they do you wrong, not like pretend wrong. Like this kind of stories I've been hearing recently about clients who, for whatever reason, be doing a 180 and acting the fool. Those kind of people. You telling me I'm supposed to be compassionate towards them folk? How?
Yeah. Right. So I've found myself in a few situations where people have pushed some buttons, and I'm like, I might be getting to a point of no return right about now. But the point is, for me, it's an energy thing. So if I can find a way to have some compassion, I don't know what the person is going through. They may be acting a complete fool, right? I don't know their circumstances. I don't know what they're going through. Everybody comes with their own story. And frankly, I'm not into people's backstory. Like, I'm not the person who can watch American Idol and listen to the backstory. That shit has to go on mute. So, but if I don't know any of that, I don't know why they're behaving in the way that they are, regardless of the fact that it has put me out. If I can dig deep and find a level of compassion that maybe I don't accept the behavior, but I can be compassionate enough to know that actually, you know what, I don't know why you're behaving in this way. I don't know what's rubbing you in this fashion. What I do know is that you maybe have some of your own stuff to work out, and I don't need to carry around this bad energy with me elsewhere, because I can let it go. If I find a way to find a little bit of compassion for the fact that, you know what, I don't know you well enough to know what is going on all in your life, in your head, whatever, then it allows me to continue to move on and take positivity elsewhere. Otherwise, it kind of like, I feel like the energy of getting all sort of embroiled in stuff will bring you down. Like, you can't continue to take positivity elsewhere if you're still hung up on this situation that went on over there.
All right, when you put it like that, you make a very valid point. There's a saying that goes, you can't drink poison. Like, being angry is like drinking the poison and expecting the other person to pass out. You know, it just doesn't work like that. You're the one who holds it up. And Noha Aesop, who was one of my, I want to say, I think she was episode 15. I could be wrong. Maybe it was before that. I can't remember. But anyhow, she talks a lot about that energy piece and what it does to you. So Yeah,
For real.
I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, I can see what you're saying there around compassion. I'm not going to lie.
I've been in conversations where my body is physically shaking. I am that angry. But at the same, like, I've had to pull my own self back from the edge. This happened recently where I was on the phone to a venue. This particular woman was just, she was trying me. She was trying me.
She found the big red button, she pressed it, and she just kept going, bang, 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 bang.
Even after the call, Ad was like, man, you needed to dial that down a notch. But I was just like, I got to a point on that phone call where I just thought, you know what, Latoya, I had to apologize to her. I was like, look, I'm sorry. I'm very frustrated right now. I don't mean to take my stuff out on you. I'm going to have to hang up though, because I feel I could be getting myself to a point of no return, and I do not want to do that. I have somebody else's wedding that I'm planning, and I need to make sure that their wedding is not affected by my my choices. So I had to pull myself back, and then thinking about it, irrespective of how this particular person was behaving, actually, she's probably under a lot of pressure at work. That doesn't excuse her behavior, and that doesn't excuse the amount of butt covering that I think was going on. But she may have her own things that she's dealing with. This is all very new to everybody. We all need to try and find a way through it. But ultimately, all I can be in charge of is myself. Like, I can't make her do something different. But I need to try and show a little compassion in some way, or at least dig deep within myself to acknowledge that there may be some compassion I could show her, regardless of whether I physically tell it to her. Like, I need to come to peace with that myself.
Sometimes you just got to acknowledge, listen, I'm about to go over the edge, and your stuff is coming at me. I don't know what it is. I want to acknowledge you have stuff, and I want to take myself out of the situation before some things go left. Right. Okay. So we've got persistence and we've got compassion.
Perseverance and compassion. Yeah. So the third one, and this is the ultimate for me, right? Stay in your goddamn lane. Like, honestly, I just don't have time for it. Stay in your lane. There is no point stepping over people to try and get where you want to get. Like, there are better ways to do that. Stay in your lane. Great things happen in your lane. Don't be looking left and right, because you know what, you just got to stay in your lane. I just don't have time for, I've seen too many people coming out of their lanes having something to say about my lane or what have you, and even I have found myself stepping out of my lane from time to time, and I realized quite quickly I need to get the hell back in my lane. Like, stay in your lane, people. Like, there is no point. You can't do everything. You can't do everything. And even if you attempt to do everything, you can't do everything well.
So is this really about finding your thing, owning that, and then just being true to that thing? Like, just staying in that?
I think so. I think there's multiple levels for me for staying in your lane. Like, one of them is to do with just being who you are and continuing to center yourself around who you are, and bringing that to everything that you do. But the other, in business, I really strongly believe in staying in your lane in business, because the minute you start doing other things, you're actually creating multiple businesses. Now, I'm not going to lie, we have 3. And it's not the best decision we've ever made. These have occurred naturally, but we can't ever focus on all 3 in a steady, full burners on fashion at all. It doesn't work. So if one business is getting a lot of our focus, I'm not going to joke with you, at least one of the others isn't. But because there's 2 of us, I can focus on one, Aj can focus on one. The third one doesn't get all of the attention that it desires and that it needs. But in actual fact, with all of our businesses, they're actually all interlinked, and they've kind of been born out of each other to a degree. So there is still a level of sort of symbioticness between them, but it doesn't, I'm not going to start like cropping into doing catering or cropping into, I'm now a decor company. Like, that is not my thing. Like, I do wedding planning. Essentially, it's project management. Like, that is what I do. And there's no point me trying to be someone that I like, do something that I'm, otherwise start it as a separate thing, do it do the whole thing separately. But you can't just keep crossing over, because you can get to a point where you end up cannibalizing your own market.
And you know what? The other thing is, you don't get momentum. The problem is when you jump, and then people want to quote people like Amazon. Amazon started with books. That was it. Books.
Yeah.
And you know what happened?
They're an online seller.
They're an online seller. And they expanded into a number of things. But you know what happened? They started doing Amazon Fresh. And I hear they're pulling that back in because they strayed too far out of their lane. Products are one thing. You know, whether you ship a book or ship a computer, actually the process and the structure and the infrastructure is pretty much very much the same. But when you ship a book or you ship a piece of lettuce, it's a different thing.
That's a whole new world.
It's a different world.
That's a whole new world, as Aladdin says. Like, you know, that ain't just don't. I don't think it's worth it. And actually, if you think about it from your customer or your client's perspective, they don't know what the hell they're getting themselves into. They don't understand what it is that you do anymore because you're telling them that you do X and Y. So, okay, here's a classic. There are people there are businesses in our sector who, I could get shot down in flames for this, but who will tell couples that they also do wedding planning. Mm-hmm. And their version of it is not wedding planning. And ultimately, when push comes to shove and the hammer comes down, guess what? They're going to go focus on the thing that you originally booked them for, because guess what? That's what you're paying them for.
That's
the core of what they do. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when push comes to shove on the day, they're not going to be the person ringing up your cake supplier or, you know, coming to find you to give you a bouquet or checking in on, you know, your best man who's forgotten to print his speech. They're not going to be doing any of that because actually that's not really the core of their business. But what they haven't done is acknowledge that what they're doing is event management for their aspect of what they do. Mm-hmm. That's totally fine. Don't call it wedding planning. By way of an example, you may be able to understand that I've got to be in my bonnet over this situation. But don't call it wedding planning because that's a whole different kettle of fish. If you're not going to manage their RSVPs, do their budgeting, the rest of it, ain't wedding planning, guys. That's not what it is. So this is what I mean. Like, it would be like me as a wedding planner going, right, I'm now going to just do all of your stationery for you. And I'm also going to put all of your flowers on the table and I'll go purchase them from Covent Garden Flower Market and whatever else, you know.
You're not a florist.
I don't know I know when flowers look pretty, but I don't know how to price that. I don't know the first thing about
you don't know which ones are going to stay fresh.
Stop that.
How much water to put on them.
Yeah, I know
how far in advance to buy them. Which ones are going to travel well. Which ones are okay under the lighting?
Do you know what I mean? Does it have to be okay in an oasis? What works best in a bouquet? Like, that is not my thing. I do not have the skill set to deliver you florals. I equally do not have the skill set to be able to deliver you stationery. It seems simple. Print some words on a piece of card, but you need to talk about bleeds and you need to talk about, like, if you're going to, like, what type of paper you're going to print it on and. Mm-hmm. No, stop that.
Stay in your lane. But you do bring me very nicely on to the next thing. So for those people who are listening and they've now thought, shoot, okay, so two things. This virus showed up, little virus showed up that kind of pooped all over weddings. And I'm thinking of doing one, but I'm not quite sure how. And now that I've heard you, it seems like there's a bit of stuff around weddings that I may need to know. Is there a way that people can get in touch with you around weddings and your other businesses?
Yeah, so the best way to get in touch is to drop us an email. So my email address, in fact, the best email address to use is one of our hello accounts. We like to do hello. So there's hello@swevents.uk or there's hello@bpfc.uk, which is our second business. Either of those two works, and it's myself and my husband behind the scenes for the most part, especially during these times. Let's be honest, there isn't a whole team here yet doing the stuff. So and we're very generous in terms of our time, which I'm sure there will be business coaches out there screaming at me, but I will consult with people on a complimentary basis, because ultimately I feel like, especially at this time, people kind of need to get a sense of what they're up against, where the restrictions are, all of that jazz. So the easiest way is by email, but equally, if you catch us on Instagram, just DM us.
Okay. So we're going to have a link in the notes for you to schedule yourself. What was it, a 30-minute appointment?
We can do 30-minute consultations.
30-minute consultation.
Yeah, so typically with if it was just a standard wedding planning consultation, we're more likely to be talking about specifically your wedding. Mm-hmm. Whereas what this offer is to be able, if you want to come and talk to us about where the restrictions are at the moment, what does that possibly mean? I.e., you don't even necessarily have a wedding date in mind, but you want to get a bit of a vibe for it.
You're one of the lockdown engagees. Congratulations. You got engaged, or you're having to move your wedding around and you just kind of want to understand how the land lies and get in touch. I could tell you she's amazing because she had somebody plan her wedding. I tried to do mine by myself, and I was one of these people. Hey, I got through most of it by myself, but towards the end, we needed some professional assistance. Let's just say that it was getting too much.
All I remember is that we sat down and I started asking questions, and you just didn't have no answers.
I didn't get that far. I was fine with most of it, but by that time, my brain was gone. It was too much. I was too stressed. It was just like, so she's very good, not just because she's my sister, but because she's very good. And over lockdown, y'all shifted a little bit to support creatives and actually quite a few people in this sector as well, in the wedding sector around the businesses. So what do you have available with that?
So again, so with that side of things, we do business process consulting, which is very much about the very unsexy behind the scenes, getting some processes together, because I do not believe in manually executing things that a system and automate, like something else can do it for you. Like, I don't understand why people have got Excel and Word and PDF. Like, no, stop that. So, so that's what the business process side of things is about. It's about just going through, and it's all for creative business owners, I would say.
Because what with those people basically to whom, when you said business processing, wanted to do this.
Yeah, when they were like, what does that mean? It's probably...
If your eyes glazed over, you probably need it.
If I said the word Excel and you just shut down, like
you got shudders, like you got chill down your spine.
Yeah.
That's you.
Exactly. So for those people, it's about finding ways to help you to focus on your creatives and being that creative person or that creative business owner, rather than having to do all the admin, which I know just drives you all mad. And we've worked with a number of creatives in the wedding side of things, which is how this whole thing was born in the first place, where they're like, listen, I can't be doing all of this manual effort and this, this admin. Admin is like, I don't know.
If admin drives you nuts and you're looking to just streamline things and get them working more efficiently so that you have more time to go out and deal with your clients. This is somebody who started her business by writing the templates first for the emails she had never sent out. So
so
I think it's enough said. Because who does that?
We are not the conventional people for having started our business, but we're both very left-brained, as they phrase it, very logical thinkers. And Aj loves tech. So my background when I was working in IT was very much around business processes. Aj loves tech. He's very self-taught with it, but I don't know anybody else that does what he does the way he does it and helps people to kind of, and like he just does things that I'm like, I didn't know that was possible, or I didn't realize. And he just has this thirst for learning more about tech. So the two things combined have kind of ended up with this business process side of things. But as well as that, we also do websites and branding.
Okay.
We don't
Is there a link I can drop in the show notes for that as well?
Yes. So that is basically www.bpfc.uk or businessprocessforcreators.uk. Either of them works. So I'll make sure you do have the links available when this goes out.
All in the notes, folks. Y'all need to click them buttons. If you've got a wedding coming up, or if you're creative and you're feeling like you're flapping about a little bit. All this paperwork and shizzle be getting in the way of your creativity. Y'all need to get in touch.
Yeah.
LaToya, listen. Now, we managed to get through this without a fight. There's been no family drama has come through this, but we have had a really good conversation. There's been a lot of incredible insights. I'll give you that. Smart cookie, very smart cookie.
Don't act so surprised, please. People are watching.
No, I'm not surprised because this is the one who actually does the work. I just seem to wake up and figure stuff out. But Latoya, she loves diving into this kind of stuff. But we've talked about so much. We've talked about how you got started. We've talked about being a woman in a very male-dominated space, starting a business, whether you start with your heart, you start with your mind. I mean, so many different things. So I don't want to screw it up by messing up a summary of the show. So I would love for you to help me sum up the last episode of this season. What is like the one thing from our conversation today that you would really love our guests to be left with?
I think, okay, so it's going to be a little bit of a run-on sentence here, but I think knowing who you are is really important. So for me, as I said before, I know I'm not the person to work for other people for the rest of my life. I'm going to sound a little big-headed here, but I was really good at my job. And I enjoyed it and I loved doing what I did, but I also knew that within me, that wasn't my life. And being able to acknowledge that and then do what it takes to move yourself to where you want to go. Like, you're going to do things that are uncomfortable. You are going to talk to people that maybe don't like you, or just are a little bit sort of, upset about the fact that you might be doing something that may step on their toes. Like, you will go through things that will shape you. If you're like me, you go into an industry where you don't even look like the people who you're bloody working for, and actually it's expected that you should. So just get to know who you are, what you're about, what you want out of life, and go for it. Like, do the things that you may look at and think, oh, that's a little bit difficult. But you know what? It's so rewarding. I'm so glad we did it. And some of the experiences that we've had have actually, I look back on them and I can laugh at the fact that we did it. At the time, I'm not going to lie to you, I was bricking it. I was questioning why the bloody hell am I putting myself in this situation? But we have genuinely found a space for us in a marketplace that by rights, I probably shouldn't be part of. So, I just think that it's definitely worth it. And if one thing leads to another, explore it. So this is how our second business ended up starting, and even the third one. They're all interconnected in some way. Someone saw something that we were doing. They asked us to help, and we were like, okay, let's see if we can monetize this situation. So don't do stuff for free all of the time neither. Like, be smart, but know that actually whatever that lane is that you find, like, just go with it. Like, do everything you can. And if you find yourself in a situation you're not prepared to do the research for, or like spend more time learning about your craft or your industry or your sector, you ain't in the right place.
Well said.
100%.
Well said. Couldn't have said it better myself. Mamma mia. We are there, people. It is the end of season 1. Now listen, if in the meantime you have been having, between season 1 and season 2, you've been having a nudge about getting yourself on stages. It's been there in the back of your head. It's been giving you grief. It's been one of those nudges that Toya talks of, where you're like, I think I want to, but I'm not sure. Listen, the starting point for everything is to know exactly who the heck it is that you need to be talking to and why. And I have taken the module out of my signature program. It's called the Nail Your Niche program, and I'm running it as a separate standalone program. It will probably be, in fact, it will be out before season 2 is up. And so it's open, doors are available. It's open now, available for you to join. I'll drop the link in the show notes. Go and check it out. Do not wait. Do not think you have to have everything all together in order to make it work. If anything you've seen from the 40 odd guests I've had in season 1, woohoo! Do you know what? Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's experience is slightly different, but you got to go for it. You have absolutely got to go for it. Latoya, this has been a joy. Girl, Mama's going to be proud.
Probably.
I might send her a copy.
Mm-hmm. What, like a little preview or something?
A little preview, Hashtag life goals. That's two of us out there doing stuff. Like, Ladies,
oh, Lord.
It's a wrap on the craziness for season 1, but I will be back with more incredible guests in season 2. Until next time, if you have not yet subscribed to this show, subscribe to the show. If you want to be one of the first to hear about when season 2 is out, then hit that button to get onto the show onto the mailing list so that you'll get notified as soon as the new season is out. In the meantime, if you want to work together, check out the notes. Love you, ladies. Go out there, make it shine, make it happen. And until next time, ciao.